You are watching the National News Desk, America's News Now.
Thanksgiving holiday travel is in full force. What the numbers show so far during what's expected to be the busiest Thanksgiving on record, and where the weather forecast could throw a wrench in travelers' plans. Then bomb threats being made to several of President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks, who's been targeted, and how law enforcement is responding.
My husband even said to me, "Oh my God, what are you doing? Keep doing it, because you're definitely a different person."
Hormone therapy, doctors say, works to relieve the disruptive effects of menopause, but it's in decline. What's driving more women to turn away? This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. As we come on the air, the Thanksgiving rush is underway. U.S. airports are busier than ever. TSA already reporting 2.7 million travelers yesterday. That's about 50,000 more than on the same day last year, with many millions more expected to take to the skies over the coming days. As for today, we don't have the numbers quite yet, but you can already get a sense of just how busy the airports are. This is Chicago's O'Hare Airport from earlier. Thanksgiving Eve, typically one of the most chaotic days to travel. But one flyer, he says he's leaning into the chaos.
We're flying today because, I don't know, like the chaos, I guess. Why are we flying today?
What are your travel tips to get through security smoothly? You've got kids. What are the tips for other families?
Follow my wife.
Yeah, well said. Good advice. Delays at the airport, meantime, seem to be a little bit better when compared to the last couple of days. At last check, FlightAware was reporting more than 3,000 delays within, into, or out of the United States today, with nearly 40 cancellations. But for perspective, on each of the last 2 days, there were more than 4,000 delays. So things are trending a bit better. But things could take a turn this weekend as forecasters track a cross-country storm, blast of Arctic air, and an outbreak of showers threatening to hassle travelers. According to the National Weather Service, a low-pressure system producing heavy snowfall over the Colorado Rockies expected to move across the Midwest and Northeast through tomorrow. And scattered showers and thunderstorms are forecast to move across Mississippi, Ohio, and the Tennessee valleys before shifting to the east throughout Thanksgiving Day. And snowfall is likely to impact portions of the Northeast, northern Appalachians, and also the upper Great Lakes. Developing now, the FBI is investigating bomb threats and swatting attacks against several of President-elect Donald Trump's nominees and appointees last night and today. Trump transition spokesperson Caroline Leavitt said law enforcement responded quickly, but didn't say how many people were targeted. We do know, however, that Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and former Congressman Matt Gaetz and also former New York Congressman Lee Zeldin have said they received bomb threats. Meantime, Trump continues to make more top picks to round out his incoming administration. That includes a team that'll be tasked with what Trump says will make America healthy again. National correspondent Christine Frizzell brings us a look inside his choices to oversee public health in America.
From Dr. Mehmet Oz to head the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to Dr. Jeanette Neshawat for Surgeon General, President-elect Donald Trump's health team is gearing up to move to Washington and potentially drastically change the way Washington works.
The greatest perpetrator of misinformation during the pandemic has been the United States government.
Dr. Marty Makary has been tapped as FDA commissioner. We spoke to him over the summer about his criticism of the government's response to COVID-19.
There's not really been a reckoning as to why schools were closed for nearly 2 years on the lowest risk population in the United States, why toddlers had to mask for so long, why the vaccine boosters are still being pushed on healthy 12-year-old girls in America.
But the most controversial pick appears to be Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. He is a leading voice in the anti-vaccine movement.
And then the vaccine schedule that, of course, went from 3 vaccines I had as a kid to 72 vaccines over a very short period of time.
Trump's own former Surgeon General warning the new administration had better ensure vaccine confidence stays high, or they'll be distracted with outbreaks for 4 years this time instead of 1. Some on Capitol Hill attributing an increase in vaccine hesitancy to increased distrust in the government. not Trump's cabinet picks.
But I wouldn't describe them as the problem with vaccine hesitancy. I would describe the government misinformation as the problem with vaccine hesitancy.
Some, including Democrats, celebrating RFK's mission to end chronic disease, take on big pharma, and agree with his warnings on the dangers of highly processed foods.
If there's a way to save people money on prescription drugs, if there's a way to improve nutrition, reducing consumption of processed foods and increasing health, I think we've got to find a way to work with anybody in the incoming administration.
All of President-elect Trump's cabinet picks will need to be approved by the Senate. Those hearings set to start very early next year. I'm Christine Frizzell for the National News Desk.
All right, Christine, thank you. And now on the books in Ohio, a law requiring transgender students to use school restrooms that align with their biological sex. Today, Governor Mike DeWine signing the Protect All Students Act that applies to public schools and colleges. It also bans school restrooms and locker rooms that are open to any gender. The law takes effect in 90 days. Right now, 3 Americans who have been imprisoned in China for years are on their way home. The White House announced that Mark Sweden, Kai Li, and John Long, who the U.S. designated as wrongfully detained, will be reunited with their families. It's not immediately clear if any Chinese nationals are being released in return, but the State Department has lowered its travel warning to China to, quote, exercise increased caution from its previous warning of reconsider travel. And the search for a missing 61-year-old in Oregon has been suspended. Susan Lane Fournier disappeared last Friday while hiking in Mount Hood National Forest. The Clackamas County Sheriff's Office said today that they called off the search and rescue operation because of weather and the chances that she has survived. But it's still an active missing persons case, and investigators are still gathering details. Right now, you are looking at Lebanese forces boosting their presence in the south of the country following the implementation of a ceasefire in Lebanon between Israel and militant group Hezbollah, a truce that went into effect just hours ago. This as Lebanon residents, for the first time in months, start returning to their homes in once evacuated areas. Nearly 1 million people were displaced by the war there. Both sides have agreed to terms of a deal. They've agreed to halt fighting for at least 2 months. The deal also calls for Israeli troops to withdraw entirely and for Hezbollah to retreat further away from the Israeli border. Israel now says it will turn its complete attention to its military campaign in Gaza, where the fighting, despite separate negotiation efforts, shows no signs of ending. And Secretary of State Antony Blinken, he met with the Pope today to discuss the recent developments in the Middle East, along with the need for humanitarian efforts to support the now millions of people in Lebanon, Gaza, and Israel who've been displaced or hurt as a result of the year-long hostilities. Pope Francis has long made an appeal for a ceasefire in the region and has called for investigations into allegations of a genocide in Gaza. Marijuana is shedding its long-standing stigma as more people recognize its medical benefits and support legalization. It's become a mainstream topic, but there's a growing concern tied to its use, a health condition many have never heard of that's sending teens to the ER with severe symptoms. The National News Desk's Katie Benty has more.
It's a growing concern that could be affecting your child. A dangerous health condition linked to marijuana use is sending more teens to the ER with severe nausea, vomiting, and stomach pain.
I would say at least a couple times a month I'm seeing patients present with this, we call it intractable vomiting, and no one can figure out why, but they have no other symptoms.
Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS, may sound like something you'd expect from a bad batch of marijuana. But according to Dr. Sarah Tano, a local pediatric emergency medicine physician, CHS is actually a chemical reaction inside the body.
It causes the part of your brain that produces nausea to be hyperactive, and also the part of your brain and GI tract that cause severe pain, like visceral organ pain, to get overstimulated.
Dr. Tano sees it all too often. The symptoms can last for up to 5 days, and in some cases, patients report being stuck in a cycle of pain, vomiting, and hospital visits.
A lot of times they'll tell me like, oh, I went to this other hospital, I went here, I went there, and it's not getting better. And because sometimes the medications aren't enough, it's just time letting it like kind of get out of your system.
Some patients have found temporary relief by taking a hot shower or bath. But for others, the symptoms are severe enough to require hospitalization and even IV medication.
Besides the medications that we have, they're quick fixes, but if you continue to smoke, you're going to have the same symptoms again.
Dr. Tano says it's a wake-up call for teens who smoke regularly and for parents who may not realize the risks.
That was Katie Benty reporting. Coming up, why Americans are feeling better about the economy, even though inflation is moving in the wrong direction. Then a possible solution to a school bus driver shortage that's been causing headaches for parents across New England. And later, the truth about hormone therapy for women. A doctor re-examines a study linking these treatments to cancer. We'll be right back. Inflation is up again, according to the latest government data showing October numbers. The Federal Reserve's preferred inflation measure was 2.3% year over year, and that's higher than the September rate, which was at 2.1%. But many analysts still think the Fed will cut interest rates again in December. The U.S. economy also grew a little more slowly in the third quarter than it did in the second. The GDP rose by 2.8% annually, lower than the 3% rate we saw from April to July. This still suggests President-elect Trump will inherit a generally strong economy. And confidence is growing across the country. In the last 3 weeks since the presidential election, Americans are feeling better about the economy, up 9 points since October, and that's according to a new Gallup poll. The National News Desk's Jeff Harris explains what's driving the change.
I'm told confidence is improving in part because of the presidential election results. Many Americans are encouraged about where the U.S. is headed under a second Trump term, but others don't necessarily feel the same way. Amy Kennedy, a mother of four living in Pennsylvania, tells us she understands why Americans are feeling more confident about the economy.
As far as investments and making money on the stock market, I think people that get their money that way are going to, feel pretty positive about it.
But for her, confidence isn't growing, in part because she's an educator at a state university.
And we're very dependent on the Department of Education to give Pell Grants.
But also because one of her sons has special needs, and she worries about cuts to the supplemental security income they receive.
He'll have to go to an adult program, and they are very expensive.
According to a new Gallup poll, many Americans are feeling more confident about the economy following the presidential election, up 9 points since last month. An increase, Nicholas Economides, an economics expert, tells us, can likely be explained in a few ways.
It's because of a change in government. People feel more euphoric.
And he says Americans are likely feeling optimistic about the promises the incoming Trump administration has made.
That the various economic issues that people thought were affecting them adversely during the last 4 years are going to be taken away.
But for Kennedy, the worry outweighs the hope.
It comes with the potential for some very difficult times.
Now, the poll looked at a few other things as well, including how Congress is doing, which, as you can see, went up 3 points there. But President Biden's approval rating went down 4 points, along with overall satisfaction of the country. I'm Jeff Harris reporting from Washington.
Really interesting numbers there, Jeff. Thank you. The holiday shopping season is here, and 184 million people are expected to shop between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday in this country. That's according to Accenture's global head of retail, Jill Standish. She says AI can help shoppers think of ideas and find deals, but it's not the only new way people are looking for gifts.
I always say that this is the year of curation, meaning that people are looking for recommendations. I mean, I was just watching a clip the other day where someone was saying, hey, this is what you should buy for holiday. I'm your gift helper. Well, people are going on Instagram, they're going on Facebook, and they're asking questions, what should I buy? We're even seeing those recommendations coming from big tech platforms like Amazon.
And with tomorrow being the holiday, you may need to grab some last-minute items from the grocery store. We're looking at where you can go and what the hours are looking like. Amazon Fresh will be open from 7 a.m. to 5. Sprouts Farmers Market from 7 to 2. Wegmans will be open from up to 4 p.m. And Whole Foods will be open from 7 to 1. But Costco, Target, and Walmart, also Trader Joe's, they're going to be closed for the holiday. Customers should call their local grocery stores to confirm the specific hours. And we have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. From Oregon business owners forced to hire private security after repeated break-ins to an ongoing school bus driver shortage in Maine, we are taking the pulse of America. And we begin in North Carolina, where one man is turning Helene storm debris into artwork.
Bales felt the inspiration to do this soon after the storm when he went to Pack Square Park to pick up potable water.
This beautiful spruce tree that was there in the park. The city or the park services had cut up the tree and it was just in hundreds of pieces piled in the corner of the park. And I was like, not on today's watch.
That's where it all began. Bales turned the cut-up tree into a funeral pyre and the ideas flowed from there.
I could make a wreath at the memorial.
That wreath, now sitting in Pack Square, is dedicated to our first responders, with the message offering gratitude to those who assisted this community during a dire time of need.
And so what does it mean to you to be able to use this debris to create beautiful pieces for people?
Coming up on the holiday season, being able to use these trees and these limbs in a way to create structures that bring us together and make us enjoy the holiday, it just seemed like the right thing for me to do.
What are you doing on here? It's been an ongoing issue all school year.
Karen Farrar has two girls who ride bus 23 to school in York. She was told Monday buses 23 and 19 would not be running starting next week. It meant little Kimberly couldn't take the bus to preschool.
Do you like riding the bus?
Yes.
How come?
Because it is so much fun.
For us parents to be cut out and not have transportation for our kids to get to school, not a good thing at all.
We did hear that after today, we would lose 2 more buses, put us down to 4. Going from 9 to 7 to 6 to 4 buses is dangerous. I just think all families deserve better trying to get their kids to school.
October 7th at 4 a.m., security camera video capturing a thief breaking into the Tercey soccer store. Portland police say the suspect is still out there.
You can see his face walking in and out of my store. I don't think he even fingerprinted him. I mean, he wasn't wearing gloves. And
to have nothing happen is very disheartening.
PPB says over the last 3 months, it's increased bike squad patrols and drug enforcement within a 4-block radius of the Portland clinic. But a number of businesses, including the Portland Clinic, NNN Real Estate, and now Tercey Soccer, want more eyes on their properties. The companies share a private security team through a collective from Echelon Protective Services. Private guards roam the streets and respond to different needs that come up.
I've kind of dug my heels in because I don't want to have this place go away, and I believe the soccer community needs it, but I need help. There needs to be some sort of change in what's going on because, again, I can only kind of come out of my own pocket for so long just to keep the doors open.
And coming up, new information about the safety of hormone therapy and what that means for women struggling with symptoms of menopause and perimenopause when we come back. The research has been around for decades. When it comes to the relief of symptoms related to menopause and perimenopause, hormone therapy has proven to be an incredibly effective and beneficial treatment for women. But its use has been in a free fall over the last 20 years. Spotlight on America's Christine Frizzell wanted to find out why, especially since most women who use hormone therapy describe it as a game changer.
For Rachel Ferranti-Leffler, life can be divided into 2 chapters, now and then.
I started symptoms probably about 8 years ago. Tired, low energy, just feeling blah, bloated all the time, brain fog, and, the symptoms of hot flashes.
She believes they were symptoms of perimenopause, when a woman's hormone levels decline as part of the transition to menopause. But when she sought help, she says she was often dismissed by doctors.
One told me that I have to work out harder, the other one and diet better, the other one told me intermittent fasting, one told me it was in my head that I need to talk to a therapist.
How many doctors did it take from when your symptoms started to when you actually got put on hormones?
5.
5 doctors?
Yes.
Her story is shared by millions of women who have had trouble getting access to hormone replacement therapy from their doctors. A phenomenon that likely dates back to a press conference many think never should have happened.
The trial has been stopped early due to the increased risk of invasive breast cancer.
Those 3 words, invasive breast cancer, changed everything, with headlines detailing the, quote, new evidence of cancer risk. The hormone replacement study, a shock to the medical system. This was the cover of Time magazine that month.
After the announcement at the press conference, women flushed their pills down the toilet. They were scared. Doctors called their patients who were on it saying, you got to stop taking it.
But Dr. Marty McCary, a surgeon and public policy researcher at Johns Hopkins University, outlines in his book Blind Spots what he sees as deep flaws in the statistical methods used and conclusions drawn in the Women's Health Initiative study, especially since the average age of participants was 63.
Women in that famous study got it too late. You need to start it within 10 years of the onset of menopause in order to get the long-term cardiac and other benefits. And there was a relatively unhealthy population in the study. A third were smokers. So the study had several flaws, and yet this study became dogma.
That dogma still alive and well today, though the study's authors point out they did give this caveat during the press conference.
This study did not test the use of estrogen plus progestin for the treatment of menopausal symptoms. Although such use has been shown to be effective.
Multiple studies since that day have found for patients under 60, the benefits of hormone therapy far outweigh the risks.
Let's go this way.
Benefits for Auntie Leffler says,
good job, good job.
She felt immediately once she started.
My husband even said to me, oh my God, what are you doing? Keep doing it, because you're definitely a different person. Let's go, bud.
She worries those major changes she felt almost overnight are still being missed out on by so many women. For Spotlight on America,
let's go this way.
I'm Christine Frizzau.
Christine, thank you. And coming up, the 100th Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade just hours away. We're going to give you a sneak peek at the new characters and floats featured, plus what time you'll need to tune in to take part in all the holiday fun. Cue the confetti. We are now just hours away from the start of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And as you can see, the balloon inflation, it has begun. This parade is a special one celebrating 100 years of bringing holiday joy. And this year's spectacle will feature 22 character balloons, 6 of them brand new, including Elf on the Shelf, Gabby from Gabby's Dollhouse, and Marshall from Paw Patrol. There will also be 34 floats, including 7 new additions like Dora's Fantastical Rainforest and the Wondrous World of Wildlife. And here's a few more stats for you. Tomorrow morning, you can expect to see 11 marching bands, 28 performers, and 28 clown crews. So it is shaping up to be a highly entertaining event. The one damper is some rain is expected throughout the day. So perhaps this year you won't feel all that bad about not seeing the action in person. You can catch it on NBC and Peacock starting at 8:30 a.m. in every time zone. And that does it for this edition of the National News Desk. Join us tonight for more coverage of America's top stories. For those of you taking to the skies or the roads, safe travels to you. Happy Thanksgiving, and thank you so much for watching.